Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay, we're talking about Purim this week. Purim is probably one of the most misunderstood days. Unfortunately, many people look at Purim as a day of complete hefkeirus, as a day of I can just break free and do whatever I want, and that's just pashut not true. It's not true. There's so much depth in Purim that a person has to know you have to take advantage of Purim. Just stop to be a hefker is certainly against the Torah, but besides for that, you're missing out on a tremendous opportunity. And here today, I would like to explain what the opportunity is. And next week, B'ezras Hashem, maybe we'll talk about how does drinking play a role in that. Okay? So understand what Purim really is. We have to understand what the Nes of Purim is. We have to understand what was happening during the times of Mordechai and Esther. What are we celebrating? What is Purim about? So let's begin from what was going on in that Kufa. This was the time many years after the destruction of the first base of Mikdash. Klal Yisrael, most of Klal Yisrael was in Bavel, Paros U'Madai, and unfortunately, the Jewish people were drifting away from Yiddishkeit. There was even a tzad to say that Kodesh Baruch Hu divorced us. He doesn't want to have anything to do with us anymore. And even though that Tekufa, that span of time, was so full of outright blatant nisim, it was still a very challenging time. Some of the nisim that were very clear, unbelievable nisim that happened during that time, was one of them was the Nes, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah being saved from the fire of Nebuchadnezzar. Another one was the last party of Belshazzar. Belshazzar was Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, who was celebrating the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, and literally a hand came out of Shemayim and started writing on the walls of his palace, and Daniel had to be called in to explain what was written there, and he basically said to Belshazzar that Hashem is not happy with you for doing this, and you're going to die tonight, and you're going to lose your kingdom tonight. Tonight is going to be the end of you and the end of your kingdom. The Kachave. How exactly that happens, not for the shir today. Well, the Maisa, there were outright blatant nisim during this span of time, and yet still the Jewish people were going further and further away. Chazal tell us, it's Gemara in Megillah, but also it's much more beferish in Esther Rabbah. It says why was Klal Yisrael nigzar for lahashmid la'arug al'abed? Why? Now, you have to understand what this means. Before we get to the why, we have to understand what is happening over here. You see, in every generation, they're trying to kill us, right? That's the famous Jewish joke is every holiday has to do with they tried to kill us, we're still here, let's eat, right? Every single holiday is like that. So, B'chol dor v'dor omdim aleinu l'chaloseinu, and they're always trying to kill us, right? So what's any different than before? Right? What's any different than what happened in the other generation, right? The Spanish also tried to kill us. The Nazis also tried to kill us. We're still here. Right? That's the famous story with the Panovich Rav. The Panovich Rav went to the Arch of Titus, which was to celebrate the destruction of the Jewish people. And he says, the Panovich Rav says to the Arch, he says, Titus, we are still here. Where are you? Where are you, Romans? You world power. Where are you? The only thing left is this arch. That's it. There's no Roman Empire anymore, and there hasn't been for over 1,000 years. Every generation is like this. We're still here. So what was any different? No. Why is this any different? So the Medrash says, and also the Gemara says that when Haman made the Gezerah When Haman made the Gezerah and Mordechai heard about it, this Gezerah to destroy all of the whole Jewish people on one day, which was almost an entire year later, right? What people don't know, very interesting fact. Many people don't know that the Nes of Purim actually happened on Pesach. The Nes of Purim actually happened on Pesach. The hanging of Haman, I should say one of the Nisim of Purim, right? The one that seems to get the most attention. Although when you look in the Gemara, what they describe as the Iker Nes of Purim wasn't that. But the Nes that we all know of Haman going from being the most powerful person in the 127 provinces to hanging up on a 50 amos stick, that day was Pesach. That was the second day of Pesach. It was a year later where there was the war where the Jewish people defended themselves against their enemies. Almost a whole year later. In Yud Gimel Adar. L'maisa, when Mordechai heard about this Gezerah, so what did he do? The first thing he wanted to know, is this Gezerah emes or is it not emes? Now, how do you know? What do you mean? There's a royal proclamation. It's being sent out by the royal court of Achashverosh. Of course it's true. What do you mean, is it true or not? Mordechai did not take that as a davar pashut. Because like we just said, Nebuchadnezzar also wanted to destroy the Jewish people. So did Paro. So did Esav. And we've been dealing with this since the beginning of the Jewish people, from the very moment that Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim, Amalek came to fight against them. They've been trying to destroy the Jewish people forever. What did he do? He asked Eliyahu Hanavi, what's going on in Shemaim? Is it true that there's this Gezerah? So Eliyahu Hanavi said, yes, it's true. There's a Gezerah in Shemaim. In the Gezerah in Shemaim, it says, Lahashmid aharo ga'abed kol Yudim. In Shemaim, it says it. Hashem signed on it. Not Achashverosh signed on it. Not Haman signed on it. Hashem signed on it. That's a big deal. The Medrash says it a little bit differently. The Medrash says that when Eliyahu Hanavi heard about this Gezerah, he heard it. He heard that it's from Hashem. He heard it. He ran to the Avos, and he said to the Avos, don't you know what's going on? Get up, help. So he said, what's happening? I mean, did they deserve it? Maybe. There's nothing we can do about it. The Avos HaKadoshim said, there's nothing we can do. So Eliyahu Hanavi went to Moshe Rabbeinu. And he said, Moshe, you got to do something. You stood up for Klal Yisrael. You got to stand up for Klal Yisrael again. And then Moshe Rabbeinu asked something. And in the Gemara, it's not Moshe Rabbeinu who asked. It's the same question, but in the Gemara, it's Mordechai asked it. But they both asked, tell me, this was signed by Hashem, was sealed with Chatam, the signature of Hashem? Yes. So I asked the same question, depending on which one you're looking at, the Gemara or the Medrash. It says, was it signed in tit? Was it sealed in cement? Or was it sealed in dam? Was it sealed in blood? Which one was it? How did Hashem seal the Gezerah? Did he seal it in blood or did he seal it in cement? So they asked, what's the difference? What's the difference if you sealed it in cement or sealed it in blood? Said if it was sealed in cement, maybe there's something we can do about it. Maybe. Not 100%, but maybe. But if it was sealed in blood, it's over. There's nothing, don't even try. There's no point, no tshuva, nothing is going to help. If it's sealed in dam, then it's done. It's finished. Even nothing is going to help. Zero. But it was not sealed in blood. It was sealed in tits. Rav Pinkus explains, what's the difference? The difference is that this is a real Gezerah. It's a Gezerah min hashamayim. If it's sealed in cement, that's a really big, that is final say. So what makes the difference if it was blood? He says, what's the difference if it's blood? If it's blood, it means that it was done already. It happened already. By Hashem, There is no past. If there's blood there, it means it's over. It means the blood of the Jewish people has already been spilt. It's over. Yeah, no, it's not the same thing because that's about the basic. No. Lemaisa, if it's sealed in tin, it's just as high a level. It's just that it hasn't happened yet. If it hasn't happened yet, so then we can try to do something. So he said it was done with tit, not with dam. And there's a raya for that from the pasuk. The Gemara says, la abdam, for them to be lost. La abdam is lo badam. Lo badam. Okay. Now, why did the Jewish people deserve this? Why did they deserve it? Why did they deserve to be utterly, totally wiped out from Hashem? Again, Hashem said they're being wiped out. No more. Even by the Egel Hazahav, it wasn't like that. There was no seal in Shamayim by the Egel Hazahav, even by the Meraglim. Even all the avodah that was done during the Zman Beis HaMikdash. Even Menashe HaMelech who put a pestle into the Kodesh Kedoshim. What did the Jewish people do? So the Medrash said they went and they were Nene Mesudas Osel Rasha. They went to Achashverosh's party. Now that seems to be a very difficult answer. What's going on over here? Did they do an aveira? Did they eat not kosher food? No. The food was kosher. All the food was kosher. So what did they do already? What aveiras did they do? How could it have been worse than Gila Arai Shrichul Dam and Avodah Zarah? Could have been worse than that. What was it? So, says Rapinkus, what they did was, they said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. We're done. We just want to be a goy. We just want to be with the goyim. We're going to this party because we're part of the goyim. That's it. We don't want to have a kesher with you anymore. A person can do aveira, you can do tshuva. But if you say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't want a kesher with you, so then you're basically cutting off your life source. We're connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're saying we don't want to be connected. Okay, then you're just going to die. You don't have a life. There's no source anymore. Doing an aveira, person hurts themselves doing an aveira. Even a terrible, terrible aveira. A sea of kares. Lemaise, a person can do tshuva. But if you cut a tree at its root and you just leave it there, it looks like it's still alive, right? But it's dead. You buy flowers. You buy flowers for Shabbos. How long do those flowers last for? Depends on the level. A few days, maybe even a week. At what point do the flowers die? They died when you cut them off from the ground. They're dead.
Doesn't it say that they only
What?
Doesn't say that.
So as they're saying, they're different. That's what I'm saying. I was usually going based off the Medrash, right? But even the Gemara, you have to understand each part. Lemaise, this Gezeira was 100%. This was a real Gezeira. Because Klal Yisrael said, we don't want you, Hashem. L'moshel, what's the worst aveira that a person can do? Obviously, the worst aveira is Kidarai, Shrichodama, Avodah Zarah, right? Those are the worst aveiras that a person, what? Lashon Hara is like equal to all three of them, the Gemara and Yuma says, right? Right? Let me ask you a question. Is marrying a goy a bad aveira? Marrying a goy, for a Jewish man to marry a shiksa, is that a bad aveira? Right? It's only an Isser D'Rabbanan. Is there an Isser D'Oraisa?
Yep.
What's the Isser D'Oraisa? Is there an Isser D'Oraisa? Isser D'Rabbanan? I'll tell you.
There's such thing as a...
No such thing as a good aveira. Yeah, but what's it, right? Lamaisa, marrying a goy is worse than the worst aveira. It's worse than that. Why? Because the whole basis of Yiddishkeit is the Jewish home. That's what it is. That's what a Jew is. You're undermining all of Yiddishkeit.
Why is it like that?
That's a very interesting question.
No, you see that.
But I'm using this as a marshal because really that was what was also happening at that time. In that time, in that Tekufa, you see a little bit later in Sefer Ezra that Ezra had to tell all the Jewish men, get rid of your Goysha wives. Get rid of them. Because there was a certain nituk. They had cut themselves off from Yiddishkeit, from being a Jew. Do you know what it means to be a Jew? What does it mean? What is a Jew? It says in the Megillah, Ish Yehudi Hayab Yeshushan Habira. He was a Jew. The Gemara asked the question, wait a second, Yehudi, that means he's from Sheva Yehuda? He was from Teshuva? I thought he was Ben Kish Ish Yemini. I thought he was from Sheva Binyamin. So the whole discussion in the Gemara, maybe his mother was from Yehuda. Do you know what it means to be a Jew? The name Yehudi comes from where?
Well,
From Yehuda. Very good. What is Yehuda? Yehuda is Shem Hashem with a little dalid in there. Shem Hashem with a little dalid. What's the little dalid in the Shem Hashem? You know what it is? L'moshel. If you live in America, you're an American. If you live in France, you're French. If you live in England, you're English. If you're a Jew, that means you're coming from the nation of Hashem. You're God's nation. So you have to be represented in your name. Just like your name represents what country you're from, what nationality you're from. So to a Jew, his name represents where he's from. Who is he coming from? A Jew means you're a part of God's nation. That's what the word Yehudi means. And when you say, I don't want to have to do with you, God, I'm going to marry my shiksa wife and I'm going to have goyish children and I'm going to be totally cut off from Judaism. That's much worse than just doing an aveira, because if a person does an aveira, so okay, I did an aveira, I can do tshuva. Here, you're not a Jew even anymore. Your children aren't going to be Jews anymore. And there's a story that I heard from the Holocaust about a man who was on the train with everybody else. But this man just kept crying and crying and crying. And like, it was like beyond what everybody else was dealing with. The whole thing seemed very strange. Like it was a bad situation. Obviously, you're on a cattle car, not knowing where you're going, but like knowing that it's not going to be good wherever you're going. There was tremendous fear, but this person was like, he just couldn't handle it at all. So somebody said to him, we're in this together. We'll give each other chizuk. We'll help you. We'll be there for you. And he just, nothing helps. So finally, it's like, why? What happened to you? What's different about you? He said, I'm not like any of you. I'm totally different than all of you. All of you are Jews. I'm not like you. What do you mean? You're also a Jew. You wouldn't be here if you weren't a Jew. Says, many years ago already, I left Yiddishkeit. I married a Goyish woman. All of my children are Goyim. When they started looking for Jews, I had to run. I had to hide. And my wife is the one that sent them to me. She's the one who showed the Nazis where I was. My wife. I don't know what to do. I can't have the same chizuk as you. Cut himself off from Yiddishkeit completely. That's what the Jewish people did. When they went to this Suda, they said, we want to be like a goy. We want to be connected to the goyim. That's what we want. So Hashem says, that's what you want? You don't want me? Fine. You don't want me? You don't have to have me. We'll cut you off. That's it. It's all over. That's a serious problem. And Mordechai knew. Mordechai was the one who told them, don't go to the party. Why are you going to the party for? Don't go.
party was only to saw the ropes, no?
So that's it. That was the point.
There was no material.
No, I mean, of course it was.
They decided to cut themselves off.
So this was the Makah B'Patish. This is what they did. They cut themselves off.
That's how Yaakov didn't try to save them.
And that's why we don't have time this week, but that's why the Nes of Purim is much greater than we can really imagine. And the power on Purim is even greater. Because in order for Klal Yisrael to be saved from this, Teshuva wasn't going to help. Even Teshuva was not going to help over here. They needed Pashat Atchias HaMesim. they needed a new life source completely in order to come back from this problem. Okay, Be'ez Hashem, we'll finish with this next week.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.